one tunes into evening news or afternoon news, and it seems to be the same thing happens day in and day out. We're almost waiting with bated breath on something terrible to happen. Last week, the shootings in California. I went home for some lunch and I sat and listened to fathers cry, husbands cry, wives cry. Their loved ones were locked down. Families were hurting. Senseless killings, murder. And I stopped and had a little prayer for the folks in California. And I thought, Lord, when's it all going to end? Of course we know it. When the Lord comes back, it'll finish it. That'll be the end of it. But it seems like every day, if it's not one thing, it's two. And then the next day I come down here to church and I check out my newspapers, and I'm on the little site where I get all the newspapers, and the headline read, New York Daily Times. And the front page read, God is not fixing it. And I stopped and I thought, here we go again. God gets the blame. And then I just wondered, what would happen if the headlines read, Muhammad is not fixing it? What would happen if the headlines read, Buddha is not fixing it? I wonder, would the folks who work New York Daily News have a place to work the next day? Would it be blown up? Would the editors be shot? And those who wrote the article? They would probably have no business to go to. Then I felt a little outrage. And you can't speak of this stuff because it's not politically correct. God is not fixing it. The cry goes up, where is God? What is God doing? Why is God not doing something? God did not break it. He didn't break it. God gave us the keys to the Cadillac, and we drove it into the ditch. And then I flicked the stations, and again, gun control. Let's take all the guns away from all the good people and the bad people, and let's get the guns off the street and away from folks. It's not a gun issue. It's a people issue. People with evil hearts. I don't care what cause you cry. Do you know who has the strictest laws in the good old USA? California. Didn't stop them. Didn't stop what took place just a few days ago. Everybody wants to be cool. Nobody wants to offend. No one wants to be thought of as narrow-minded or intolerant. So we live in a world. Let all live. Let's live. And just be kind to each other. Just be kind to each other. Jesus never promised us a safe ride. Jesus never promised us that it would be easy. As a matter of fact, he said, if you follow me, you will have persecution and trials and tribulations. There will be hard times. There will be low times. But this is the road with purpose and meaning. And Jesus says it doesn't get any more exciting than this. But the problem is when we get off the narrow road that Jesus marked, then we end up living lives, depression, meaningless, and everything else. We're not being persecuted today because we stand for nothing. Edmund Burke, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. And then wasn't it Jesus who said, if the world hates you, keep in mind, it hated me first. If you belong to the world would love you because you'd be one of them. But this is why the world hates you. Remember the words that I spoke to you, no servant is greater than the master. If they persecuted me, said Jesus, they will persecute you also. But if they would obey my teaching, they would obey yours also. They treat you this way because of my name, because they do not know the one who sent me. John chapter 15, verses 18 through 21. Jesus is the way to the Father. If you believe I'm being intolerant, read John 14, verse 6. I didn't write it. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father unless he comes by me. But if you stand up and say, Jesus is the only way, let me explain something to you. You're in for a fight. You had better put on the full armor of God because you're going to be fighting. It's hard to be the light of the world. It's hard to be the salt of the earth. It's tough being a Christian in this culture. Even our friends and family and loved ones will turn from us. So what's the alternative? Keep your mouth shut. Wrong. I'm not going to shut my mouth. I'm not going to go easy. I'm not. And Jesus does not fix it because God didn't break it. And until we get transformed, until we become children of God, until we do the right thing, we are going to be pulled apart by the world and God. Maybe it's time to get off the fence. God bless you.